What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another Adobe Live. Happy Wednesday. I am really excited. My name is Idara Ekpo. I am going to be your host today. And today we are joined by Kohki Yamaguchi as he's going to edit some cityscapes, landscapes, and portraits in Lightroom and Photoshop. So, Kohki, how are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. Super excited to share some of my knowledge with everyone. I haven't really done a live event like this ever, so yeah, I'm super stoked.
I'm excited. I'm excited. And to start off our Adobe Lives, I always like to ask everybody, where are you joining from? So I am calling from Phoenix, Arizona. Koki, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Tokyo, Japan.
I'm sorry, I just wanted you to say that. I have always wanted to go to Tokyo, so this is like the closest I'll get as of,
Oh
you
no,
know, for some time.
no,
But
you don't say that.
I know, I know. I'll come and visit and I'll let you know when I come out.
Okay.
But thank you so much for joining us. Y'all let us know where you are joining from, whether you are over on YouTube land or you are joining on Behance. Drop in the chat where are you calling from. That way we can acknowledge how wide how wide we're reaching. I'm seeing New Zealand. I'm seeing Bosnia. I'm seeing Austin, Texas. That is incredible. Perfect. Great. I'm really excited to meet with y'all today and really excited for what we have in store. I see Oliver from the UK. Keep dropping in the chat. And before we go ahead and get started, I want to remind y'all to make sure that you don't miss our Adobe Express streams that occur right before this stream. You want to make sure that you tune in and learn how to implement the easy to use app into your workflow with Claudie from Print My Soul. Awesome. I'm also seeing San Antonio, Austin, Texas again. That is really, really incredible. Nice to see y'all. Really excited for what we have in store today. So, Koki, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself as well as what we'll be doing today.
All right, thank you. So jumping straight in, my name is Koki, and I'm a content creator based here in Tokyo, Japan. I do quite a bit of everything, photography, videography for both clients and social. And I don't really particularly have a specific style of photography because I do like a lot of them. So like landscape, cityscapes, portraits, architecture, and like lifestyle travel. I believe in that like every specific style has individual like story, I guess, like you can things that you can learn from every style. So I like to challenge myself to do as many style of photography as possible. So yeah, this is my website. I have a few of my highlights for photography here on my website, and I've actually loaded a few up here because these files are pretty big. It
Wow.
takes a while to load up. So this is for landscapes and cityscapes in Japan.
Wow.
And yeah, I think a lot of the times it's kind of luck as well because the condition matters. But yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
snow in Tokyo, which is quite rare. And yeah, creative shots like that. And then I also do portraits, this is also in Tokyo. And
Wow.
yeah, the neon lights kind of
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it's like really unique for Tokyo. So yeah, these are portraits and these are like I guess like nature, like natural lighting portraits. And I also have a preset which is also sold on my website, which I will be using throughout the video. So if you guys are curious, this is where you can check them out. And Instagram, like I don't think any photographer nowadays not have an Instagram. Like you gotta have an Instagram account. Although things are changing a bit with Reels, but I do love posting photos here. So you'll see a lot of photos being published here if you guys want to check it out. Yeah,
Incredible. Oh, incredible. Make sure y'all go ahead and give him a follow on Instagram. Like you mentioned before, if you are going to be interested in his presets, you know where to find them. So make sure you check out his website. And Koki, before we get started, we had a question. What time is it for you right now?
so it's 1:36 a.m.
Yep.
and I'm not lying. I have coffee right here to keep me awake and some tea. So yeah,
uh,
it's unusual timing, but I'm super excited. So I'm pumped.
uh,
I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Awesome. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Are we going to be starting in are we just working primarily in Lightroom, or do you think we'll touch anything else today?
I do want to kind of keep everything quite simple.
Okay.
Um, I'm not like a editor or like any, I do this as a profession, but I'm not like a professional editor. So
Mm-hmm.
I also don't teach people, so it's my first time. So make things kind of easy for everyone and just kind of highlight one of like my favorite stuff or tools that I use in within Lightroom and keep it simple. Maybe if we have time, I'll jump into Photoshop, but that might be better off for tomorrow's
Got it.
live. So yeah.
All right. I like the sound of that. So I hope y'all are ready. And I think we're in the place where we're ready to go ahead. Let's hop in Lightroom.
Okay. All right. So just diving straight into Lightroom. This is Lightroom Classic. And before we start with anything, I do want to mention that editing is kind of like a final touch, and you do still need to kind of photograph in the ideal setting, lighting, situation, etc., to create these photographs, that you have in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's start off with cityscape and move on to some kind of like a lifestyle cityscape and landscape images, which we'll get into in a bit. But here, so here I have my presets, and my goal usually for landscape is to kind of create contrast using the Lightroom tools and pull focus on the main subject in the frame. So in this case, the main point of interest or subject will be this sky tree. So that's the tower. And then to do that, I'll be using a lot of masking, but let's start off with just adding a preset, because it's not a one-click solution, but it does help with the overall speed and tone of the photos. So once I added a preset, I'll usually just go ahead and bump up the exposure so that we can see what's going on really.
And real quickly, if you don't mind me asking, and if y'all have any questions throughout this live, make sure you drop them in the chat, whether again you are at YouTube or you're here on Behance, drop your questions in the chat. But where were you standing, or how did you, I guess, take this photo? Were you in your room and this is the view that you have every day, or?
I wish I had this view. You should see my window. It's like, yeah, I think this is actually not Tokyo. So this view is Tokyo, but this is one station out of Tokyo, which is I actually don't remember the name of the station, but it's just an apartment building. And then on the top, anyone can kind of access. It's like a observation, but this one's kind of low key. Like a lot of tourists don't know about this because it's a bit of a unique area. Oh yeah, I really love this spot because you can see the tower, but also at the back, you see the whole entire Shinjuku district. So yeah, it's a really nice location.
Oh, I love. All right, let's go. Let me continue. I was so curious. I was like, how did I take this photo?
It's usually an observation day, more or less. Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention, I do first kind of angle or like fix the crop of the image. And there's actually this, everyone's gonna think I'm such a newbie to do this, but I go in like this and I align it with this navigator, like this, I don't know, the side of it with the building. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's a bit crooked. And then I just go like this and fix it, which is like the most like rookie thing you can do. Technically you can do you can use this and like align it with the building, but that's how I do it. And I like to do that before getting into anything because I don't want to watch a crooked image throughout the whole edit. So yeah, for getting back into the whole editing, bring up the exposure so we can see what we're working with. And then for this image, I kind of want the highlights to pop and create that dramatic contrast. So there's no reason for me to like maintain the highlight details here because it's so tiny and it's not even relevant. So we can just bring the highlight up, probably even the whites, and then yeah, just leave it at that. I think we can always come back to it. So there's no not a big issue. And then in the far distance, I have dehaze +5 as a preset, but I think for this, I really love the hazy vibe going on, which creates more layers and depth. So I'll just put that back to 0. Of course, you can go higher like this if you want a crispier look, but then as you can see, it changes everything about the image, and you got to kind of compensate by using the tools up here. So yeah, just leave it at 0 for this image. And despite the blue hour, I really love blue hour is like the best time to photograph in my personal opinion, but this is a bit blue. So I kind of like to mess around with the temperature and bring it up actually a bit like that. And I think we're going to darken the image later, so it'll look more like that blue, but I think warming it up is good, especially because of the split toning tool down here, which adds blues to the shadows and highlights, but we'll get to that in a moment. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but when you change the temperature, the tint kind of, it messes with the tint. So I kind of want to go down with a tint, maybe like that, and then that kind of fixes it. It kind of brings that teal, that blue tone back. So yeah, I think I'm really happy with that.
This is so beautiful. And we have a quick question.
Yeah.
Well, we have some compliments. So first thing is Perry says photographers always make the places that are not photogenic look beautiful. So kudos to you. And then Steve also said that it looks really sci-fi like. But we do have a question specifically. What camera did you use for this photo, and what is your dream camera that you really want to have one day?
So I'm a bit of a bias. Well, okay, so I love Sony, and I'm actually an ambassador of Sony now for almost 2 years.
Oh, congratulations.
And so I can literally borrow like the A1, which is like a beast. I can't afford it. I'm on the fence about it, but it's crazy. That is my dream camera. So this though is shot on my own personal camera that I actually sold because I upgraded. This was on the A7R3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think it does the job pretty well even till this day at 2022. So
yeah, it does really well, especially even when you zoomed in. The amount of detail that is still captured in those further buildings is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think the sharpness for Sony master lenses are pretty good.
You can't really match it. So
what do you usually use?
I'm a Canon type of girl. So I love my Canon. I currently use a Canon EOS R. So I love it, but I have been thinking about Sony just because of like things like this, especially shooting in low light. It's just so incredible. And so I'm just like, dang, look at all that detail.
Yeah, it does help. It really does help. I mean, you should join us.
I'll think about it. Canon has my heart, but I'll consider.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I use. And if you can see on the top right corner, this is a setting that I've used. And I typically don't use 400 ISO like during the night like this because I usually use the tripod, but here I wasn't allowed to use a tripod, so I kind of stationed it on my camera bag, which then I was too scared to push the shutter speed too low. So that's the result of this being what the setting is, I guess. And then F8, because usually for landscapes and cityscapes, you want a lot of it in focus. You don't want it's a creative opinion, but yeah, usually you want everything in sharp. So that's why I chose F8. Okay, so I think from here it's where it gets really fun and interesting because this is where I like to call like painting over your photos, I guess, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go ahead and start by using these mask tools. So usually these three here in the middle, brush, linear gradient, and radial gradient is the primary three that I really enjoy using. I sometimes get carried away, but we kind of want to pull the focus in the center of the frame and sandwich this image so that when you look at it right from the get-go, people will be drawn to the middle of the frame rather
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. So in order to do that, we'll kind of create this mask and just darken the top frame first. Maybe bring down the blacks as well as the shadows, maybe even the whites. And then that looks so much better. It's a bit darker and moodier.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is though affecting this area too. So we're gonna subtract it and use the brush tool to subtract. And it can be a rough job like this, and it'll look really much better. Especially because of these lines here.
Mm-hmm.
These lines that the cloud formation is creating kind of gives that separation depth. So we want to kind of use that as an advantage and keep making these masks in different length, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to separate it here, right where this cloud formation is like forming,
Mm-hmm.
and even go darker, like so. And that kind of makes it a lot more moodier if
Yeah.
if that's what you're going for, and that's exactly what I would go for. So yeah, it's already like that is before, and we're already here where you could say you could end it here. If I was just
Mm-hmm.
starting out, I'll be super happy at this stage, but we're gonna keep going and create. We're not gonna stop here and just keep going with this gradient and darken the bottom part of the frame
Mm.
so we can further focus on the center.
This is so beautiful so far. It feels very, like you said, moody. It also feels really cinematic. Like I'm looking at, like I can imagine being in a theater and seeing like a quick clip
Really?
of yeah, I love things that are very moody and cinematic feeling, and so the amount of depth that's in this photo is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I think I like it, but I feel like I'm just too used to the Tokyo cityscape that I kind of forget to, yeah,
I
appreciate it
I
sometimes,
feel
which is
that.
not, yeah.
I feel that when you're used to seeing something every day or often, you kind of, forget to see the beauty. But someone like me living in Phoenix, Arizona, let me tell you, we do not have cityscapes that look like this.
I think it's Tokyo's really unique because
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like a city. It just feels like a multiple small cities that
Mm,
like piled up together. So
yeah.
yeah, like you see this area with a sky tree, but in the distance you see another city.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that looks that already looks really nice. And if you compare it, we really pull the focus in the center,
Yeah.
and then we went from this kind of a not so pleasing magenta toned blue hour to this blue hour that really looks like a blue hour. So yeah, that is how I pull focus in the center of the frame. I think we can even go further and just darken it a bit more on the top here. And yeah, I think that is how I will go about pulling the focus in the center. And then from here, I think since this is the main subject, it is a bit hazy and it's losing a bit of contrast in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. So here we can quickly use the brush tool, and it'll first look a bit ridiculous, but we just paint over the main subject with the brush
Mm-hmm.
tool, and I'll try and do this as quick as possible, but a rough job usually is okay. It usually works fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not too important. If you're picky about it, you can always obviously do it like in more detail, which helps, but it depends. It really depends on the subject. But
Yeah.
that literally took like maybe 15 seconds. And we go and bring the exposure by 1. And then if you go and bring the clarity up, you can see that it really pops a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we want. Okay. So I think that looks
oh wow, it pops
really
so well.
good.
It's beautiful.
And if we hide this, that is the difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really makes this whole lot of a difference. And that literally took a minute. Yeah, it's so powerful. Like it's so normal for me to use all these tools, but if you think about it, it's just pretty crazy. I think, yeah, I think this is pretty good. Now this is very detailed, but usually I recently enjoy using a star filter. So it creates these glows, but in this case, I didn't use it. I should have, but I don't think no one will notice this.
Yeah.
I do love adding like more highlights or like into these like lights. So what I mean by that is maybe like dehaze a little, and there's like a slit.
Yeah, I see that.
But like you can't tell if you're like zoomed out, but
it's like a little detail that's nice in there. And we had someone said it's been a long time. I haven't photographed a cityscape. My last photo of a cityscape is just disaster. And I not to call out that comment, but I wanted to ask you, what would you say are some like tips that you have for people that are wanting to shoot? I know we're going to look at more landscapes and stuff like that, but what are some tips that you might have for people that want to kind of do that type of photography?
Cityscapes. I think it's very subjective, but like what you're shooting also matters. I mean, you can't just point a camera out your window and take a city photo. Of course, you have to make an effort to kind of do your research and see what you like and what you see, what you consider aesthetic. And then say if, for instance, this view is aesthetic to you, you love it, and then you go shoot it, but then there's also this consideration that the weather can like ruin the image. So yeah, like some people hate the rain, they don't go out to shoot in the rain, but I love how the contrast, like the rain brings the contrast, and it really pops, especially when it rains and then the sun hits, it really glows. So you gotta really kind of figure out what you want to shoot and when to shoot it. And usually it's always in the lighting. So as long as you can, if there's one thing that anyone should learn, is lighting. Like that's it. Like that's the one thing that I would tell myself, if like my earlier photography self, like when I was still starting out.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because I guess no amount of editing can fix a bad lighting.
That's true. That is very, very, very true.
So yeah, I think that's one thing I can say. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. Like it's pretty done, I think, in terms of the image. I might just go ahead like this and create a massive radial filter and give that little bit of pop. I think that looks good. Yeah, and of course, if you don't like the contrast, you can always like kind of tweak it a bit like this. Like, but in general, I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I want to go down here and show you guys this right here. This is the split toning tool, which I already as default put into the blue hue. But if you like a warmer tone, you can always like add like different colors to the
Yeah.
image. So that's orange. And that really that alone makes a difference. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not doing a great job right now, but you can see that the tones
You
completely
could, yeah.
so,
I love the color wheels to really focus on just how you can just change the whole mood of an image. So it's really cool to see how that, just with the edits that you just played around with, how that changed the mood of the image. And there's another question, and y'all
okay,
are
yeah.
popping in the group chat. I love to see y'all. I love to see the chat bumping. I love it. I love it. Sam has a question, or Sam posted a question that was from YouTube that says, what monitor do you use?
Oh, okay. So as with every monitor names, it's just these weird like numbers and like alphabets that I can't even remember, but it's one from BenQ. So I was a fan of the look of the Apple the XDR
Mm-hmm.
monitor, but it's 7 grand. So this is
Ooh, ooh.
1.5
Okay.
and it looks really similar from the front. So I really highly recommend it. But yeah, 1.5, if you can justify that, I think it's worth it. I think it's
Yeah.
one of the best. So it is from BenQ. I just can't remember the name, the exact name.
No problem, no problem. I think that's good enough. At least we know where to look.
Yeah, it's like it's known. It's like the alternative for Apple's
Mm,
XDR monitor. So if you search that up, it'll
it'll
come up
pop
for
up.
sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can say we're pretty good with this image and
Yeah.
we went from here to here. So yeah, this is how I would go about editing a Blue Hour cityscape. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I think I can move on if anyone else doesn't
yeah.
have any questions regarding
Uh,
the.
if y'all have any questions, let us know. Oh, there is another one. Do you print your photos? If so, if you do, what is the biggest print you've ever done?
Yes, I do print, and the biggest is a A3, so not that big.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had a dozen of them printed exclusively for sale. It's like this pagoda with a Mount Fuji view.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I put yeah, I think if you go on my website, it's right there so you can have a look. But that one's I think there's two more left.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think we're good. I loved how you I love the detail in the sky, and I think that's my favorite thing, how you were able to really separate the different clouds and the detail and how moody it is. It's just so absolutely stunning. So I love it. I hope y'all love this image too. But I think we're in a good spot to move forward to whatever's
Yeah,
next.
of course. So I do want to kind of go and show you guys how you can also edit a flatter image. So this is another photograph. This is shot in Shanghai. So these towers, they look really like for me, it was something new and it was really appealing. So I
Mm-hmm.
shot it. It's also in the early stage of Blue Hour. I think you can see a bit of the pink here, but it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much towards the Blue Hour. So here, I think the goal is kind of similar to before, but more focused on the buildings. So I want to kind of bring these buildings out more and create contrast. And I might, I think, yeah, I think it's similar process in the beginning. I'll try and go real quick so we don't waste too much time, but
Mm-hmm.
we crop it first, just so, yeah, my weird cropping technique. Like I align the buildings. I know it's a bit embarrassing, but we'll go with that. And then I hate this side building here. It's a bit distracting in the eye, so I'll
Mm-hmm.
quickly actually I can go down here and go like that. And then I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
That's this. works. So same preset, I'm just gonna go with the same preset. This is like tone that I usually go with,
Oh,
so
this is
it always
beautiful.
works well. Again, we just quickly go and bump up the exposure. And yeah, we'll start from here. So let's go down here, and you already know about my split toning more on the
Mm-hmm.
blues. So here we have the HLS, and I want to talk a bit about the HLS. And usually I kind of make these all neutral, except for the greens and the blues, especially. Those are the three colors that I focus on, but there's not much green, so we can, as you can see, you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
ignore that for now. But blues, in order to create a more subtle, like not necessarily a rich blue, but rich, but also like subtle blue
Mm-hmm.
that I go for, I usually really go down with the saturation, but then
Mm-hmm.
bring the luminous down. So my
Mm.
most asked question is, how do you get your blues? And
Yeah.
literally how. And I've been doing this for a while, but yeah, I think I really enjoy having this control.
Yeah, the
Because
saturation down and then the luminous down. So yeah, I like how I like this tone of blue that I'm seeing.
yeah, I think it's more subtle,
Yeah,
not like a saturated in your face.
exactly.
So that is how I go about getting my blues. And I'm not going to go too in detail of getting the exact like perfect colors, because I kind of want to focus on the getting these buildings to pop. So again, using the gradient, might bump up the exposure, and then so we can see a bit more. But
Mm-hmm.
everything in the shadow, we want to kind of bring it further into the shadow, and everything that's in the light, we want to bring it up. And in order to do that, we can really say, let's start from this bottom half of the frame where these focus on these white buildings. So we can draw like a filter all the way up like this, and then bring the exposure, a bit of the shadows and blacks to crush the blacks a bit. Okay, that looks good. And then we again use a subtract brush and
Mm-hmm.
paint over the parts of the building that the light's hitting. So, and
Mm.
two can be really rough. It doesn't have to be anything. I mean, you can spend more time doing this, but then we're gonna probably sit here for way longer time just watching me paint over these buildings. Isn't ideal for this live. So I'm really gonna go quick with this, but as you can see, I'm only painting the parts where the light's actually hitting.
Mm-hmm. I like that attention to detail and how that's really bringing out those buildings a bit more.
Yeah, I think this is like my favorite thing to do.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It's so satisfying to do as well. Like, okay, but yeah, I think you can get the idea.
Yeah.
So let's say we should just call it for that for this one, this mask, and then we already went from this to this, which
Wow.
creates this pop, and then we kind of just keep going with it, and to like even like finding like trying to get that fine amount of exposure, I guess you could say, you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of just use a brush and brush over it again in the parts that you kind of want it brighter, like this. Again, this is a very speedy way to do it just because of the sake of explaining and showing you guys how I do things. But of course, that would take way longer in reality. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I think that is how I would go about bringing the photo, a flatter image, to kind of pop more. And we can actually use this technique for these towers too. And if we go ahead and make a brush tool. So this building here, the center of it is dark, which means that the light's not hitting, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of want to kill that even more with the brush tool and just going down with the exposure.
Yeah, I really like how you pay attention to light and how it's presenting itself in the photo, so that way you can just see what you want to enhance, like how you just want to enhance the lighting in the photo.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's exactly what you said, enhancing the lighting already there. Yeah, I think it's really just about painting. It's kind of like it's just not even photography now. It's just painting, really. And either you find it fun, enjoyable, or not, it's gonna really show in your final image. So yeah, even if these parts, I think the orange light I really love. It really complements the blue. So
Yep.
I think I can actually just bring the saturation, and that already looks a bit better. And you can change the color of the oranges and reds as well, like this, but usually it's safer to, if in doubt, it's safer to stay in the middle. So you don't mess with the colors and it doesn't look off. But
yeah, that orange complements the blue very, very well.
Yeah, I think the blue and orange is a cheat code for everything.
Yeah.
Easy way out. But it's good. It's like popular for a reason. So you can also further enhance kind of like where the light's coming from. And it's really simple. But if you just make one radial filter here, and then just go 1, 2, 3, exposure, maybe like dehaze, so it's kind of a bit faded. It looks nice that way. And then bring this time, instead of dragging it down or from down up, we can drag it this way, sideways. And then this gradient, we can like darken it a bit, like so. From here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then because we don't want to affect this part of the frame, which this radial filter lives, we can subtract the mask that we just made on the left.
Yep. And then I think there was another question. Let me catch up on the chat box real quickly. Somebody did ask, in the future, would you stick with your full frame, or would you might want to change to a medium format system for your camera to get more detail in your photos in the future?
I think so. My ultimate goal is to carry one camera body and not two. So I shoot video and photo, and for video, I'm very specific to have a 4K 422 10-bit like codec. So in order to do that, I have to either have a Sony A1 or carry an FX3 and a A7R camera, so 2 cameras. So ideally an A1 full frame camera, and then I can shoot everything. So yeah. I think that's the goal.
Bringing your system down to just one camera that could do everything that you need to do.
It's a nightmare sometimes to like switch and it's heavy as well. You could be carrying another extra lens if it wasn't for that body. And then,
it's way too heavy. Way too heavy. And just out of my curiosity, well, I know we're still continuing to edit this photo, but out of my curiosity, how did you get into shooting cityscapes and landscapes? Was this always how you started your photography? I know you do portraits too. Did you start with portraiture and move into this, or vice versa?
I started from exploring abandoned places, and I met this one guy from the US. He was also exploring, and we kind of connected, and then from there he does cityscapes, and so he came to Tokyo I live here, so we met back in Tokyo, and then he's like, we should capture something, capture a cityscape that no one's ever shot before. And I'm like, okay, like, well, how do you do that? And then he just took me to this building. It was like it was like a rooftop of a building, but only workers can go there. But like we just like kind of snuck in, took a photo, and that moment was like the moment I wanted to do photography forever. Like that.
Wow.
If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here, I think. So yeah, that's the whole reason I'm doing cityscapes and photography.
Wow. Oh, I love when there's like a personal like
Yeah.
story and experience behind why we do what we do. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I think, yeah, I think I'm really happy with this, and we can really see the
Yeah, that's
difference.
beautiful.
How, I mean, yeah, we can pop these part a bit more, but in general, the concept is, yeah, bringing the bright parts brighter and the dark parts darker. And I think, yeah, that's a one skill that's pretty like easy. Like I'm pretty sure anyone that just watched how I did this can do it like right
Yeah.
after. So that's the beauty of Lightroom, how easy it is to like learn and like adapt. Like it's, yeah, I mean, first when you see this chart, it's kind of like, it's really complicated. I think it's like a math problem almost. But like it's not that hard. It's so easy.
Yeah, it's very user friendly, which is why I love Lightroom too. Everything is kind of quick and straight to the point, which is really nice to get, you know, whatever results you're trying to get.
Yeah, I don't know any other software that's like this, like user friendly and powerful.
Yep, Lightroom is a gem. It's what I started. It's what I started in, and I was for a long time really afraid to go into Photoshop because I was like, that is like a whole nother universe. And I think there's power for sure in being able to use both tools, but I think Lightroom in itself is such a incredible and universal and just very just simple user friendly tool to use. So I love it.
Yeah, I think anyone can learn it. Even yeah, it's like I believe it's like if you don't speak English, there's like for Japanese people there's like Japanese,
which is
I
great.
think.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it, and it was so weird, but like it's cool, like seeing different languages too. Okay, I think for cityscapes, that's
are we good there?
I think we're good. I think that's how I would go
and
about
if we
it.
can just pause, I know we've been editing for a little bit now. If we can just do a quick recap of both photos, so and just kind of covering what you did when you were editing these cityscapes, just in case for anybody that just might have joined the live currently.
Okay. Let's start from the first photo that I edited, just a rundown of how I went from this to this. I feel like this is a better view. Okay.
Yeah.
So we started off with a basic crop, just align everything, and then we quickly added a preset because that helps that helps the process in terms of like editing. So it adds more blue because my presets is more leaning towards like the blue kind of tone. So that's what we did, and then we pretty much just all we did was create these masks. So we kind of brought these multiple masks on top and bottom of the frame and kind of darkened it using just blacks, shadows, pulling down the exposure. And then that way, this top and bottom part of the frame gets dark, which means we can focus on the center of the frame. And then that really creates a leading line. Not a line, but like a leading, I don't know what you call it, just like a focus, like a
nice focus point. Yeah, focal point.
Focal point, yeah.
Sure.
My English. Okay. So yeah, that's what we did, and then we kind of didn't preserve too much of the highlight because we didn't care about these parts, and then yeah, focused on the center, brought it up, added like brush tool to kind of paint over the subject, the main subject, which is this tower, and then boosted up the clarity, not too much, but just a bit, so it pops a bit more and it's a bit more crisp. But yeah, that's how we went from here to here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then for the second image, we kind of used the same tools, but this time we tried and create from this flatter lighting situation to a more interesting, dramatic photo. So in order to do that, we kind of created, again, the same masks. I should pull this up. I should have done this before, but yeah, so this mask.
Yeah.
And then we darkened the whole mask, but then subtracted parts of it using the brush and painted these parts of the buildings where the light is hitting. As you can see, it's apparent that the light's hitting in these areas, even in this photo. So that's how we brought up the brighter areas. And then because of the initial mask that we created, we pulled down the exposure and the shadows and made it darker. So it creates that contrast. So bright areas are brighter and dark areas are darker, which creates layers and depth. So that's how we made this bottom half of the frame. And then just a simple mask tool, kind of this radial filter to blow out a bit of the left side of the frame, because that is the direction of the sun. And yeah, darken the right side using another mask and subtracted this part here. So that's how we created this image.
Oh, beautiful. Awesome. So if y'all have any questions, I don't see any. See some people left the chat. Thank y'all for joining. And if you're joining, that was a nice recap of what we're doing. And of course, if you have any questions or comments on anything that we've done thus far, any questions for Yoki, please drop them in the chat. Whether you are on YouTube or Behance, we can go ahead and answer those questions for y'all. So I think I'm ready to move forward.
Okay.
Yay.
All right. So let's move on to a more of a lifestyle cityscape photo. Let's see. So I really enjoy adding a human subject, especially myself, because my Instagram is like my name. It's like my journal, myself, kind of. So of course I do love taking photos with friends and portraits, but occasionally photos like this is something I'd like to capture. So it's me down in San Francisco when it's foggy, just walking down the street. I had this composition. It's pretty popular of a composition, but my friend helped me take it. I'm actually going to show you guys the final result right away from the get-go. So yeah, that is as you can see, I think this is easier to kind of grasp how I would go about editing a photo like this, but it's more on the blue. If you compare it side by side, it's so blue, but when you look at it as a solo, it's not too, it's nice, but yeah, you don't have to go that too deep into the blue if that's not what you want. But yeah, I think the fog element is really what I was focusing on, because without it, I don't think the photo would turn out as nice. As you can see, the foreground where I am is like crisp. The trees are like super contrasty, and then it fades into the distance where so I think it's a good lighting situation. So again, we're gonna start off with cropping the image, and yeah, as you can see, it's straight. I don't know why I do that, but all right, right off the bat, this is too purple, but this is the preset and it is on the bluer side. But we're gonna quickly fix it with this slide here and put it more on the tint and get rid of the magenta. Maybe go down in the temperature a bit for now. And then we can drag this blue down more, the shadows, maybe even the highlights. Yeah, I think that looks good. And yeah, that already looks really nice. I think it's all like pretty decent. And then for some reason, I keep the greens desaturated for a lot of photos, but in here, I think these greens look nice. Depending
Mm-hmm.
on lighting, the greens do look awful and like unrecoverable. Like
Mm.
I I still to this day don't know why that is, but yeah, we kind of want to preserve this green here. Just bring it back up. So yeah, that looks better. And then I think we can, so I don't want to kind of go down with highlights too much because I do love the blown out look.
Yeah.
And so we'll leave it at that and maybe bring the shadows back up. So here, my skinny jeans, they're not too crushed and you can kind of see a bit more. And I think that looks good. Maybe bring the, yeah, the dehaze back to 0.
Yeah. I really appreciate, I know we talked about cropping, but I really appreciate the crop of this photo because the way your eyes lead down like the street up into
Yeah.
this, it's just so beautiful. A
Yeah,
solid crop is what you need. You cannot go, listen, if an image is not cropped correctly
or shot properly
or
too. Like
shot properly, yep.
I feel like it annoys me so much when these lines aren't like
Oh,
decently like straight. Like you can, I mean, this is a bit too much if I complain, but this line here is a bit off compared to on this side.
yeah.
Um, like this is
Okay, I
on
see
the
what you're
left, yeah.
saying. Yeah.
So that already annoys me, but I mean, if that annoys you, editing a photo will be like shooting photos will be like a nightmare. So
Yeah.
I let that go, but
You gotta
that's
pick and
one.
choose your battles.
Yeah, I mean, you get the composition right.
Yep,
That's really important.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think this already looks good, and I think it's just the same process as before. This here too, you can kind of drag this filter and darken it in the bottom part of the frame,
Hmm.
so it kind of focuses on the center of the frame. And then, of course, we do want to kind of subtract this part right here on the top.
Beautiful. And while you do that, we have another question for you. This is a pop in
Yep.
chat. So our question is, can you please share the most convenient way of exporting and best settings for exporting?
Oh, all right. Okay. So I get this question asked a lot, but I'm not too sure if I'm doing it right. But it works for me. And when you click export, it's JPEG. I have the resolution to 300
Mm-hmm.
and quality at 100, of course. And that's all I focus on. As long as that's like 300 and 100, I mean, it looks fine. I get
Mm-hmm.
compliments on my Instagram posts, but it's not like I dived in deep and like
Yeah,
studied what the, yeah. So
I'm
this
the
works
same
for me.
way.
So yeah.
I'm the same way. I that's the extent of my exporting knowledge.
I mean, if it works, it works.
It
But
works, yeah.
if you upload in like a poor Wi-Fi situation or cellular data,
Mm,
then it affects the upload quality. And also, if you go on Instagram, there's a setting where you can
yep.
actively click what was it? High
Like
quality upload.
high quality upgrade uploads. Yep.
Yeah. So that I think that is what
That's an
you
important
want to be
setting to
doing.
have. So then that way, when you ever have like when you're uploading your images to excuse me to Instagram, you know that at least you're getting the best quality that you can get on the app.
Yeah. I think that's how I don't think there's anything else to it. I think people overthink it maybe
Mm-hmm.
or just have a bad internet connection or but yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah, same. But if it
uh,
works, it works.
yeah, I mean, if it works, why try and bother changing it? Yeah. Um, I think these photos like this, it's very just straightforward. I'll also add a radial, maybe just blow out the sky even more, like that, just a tad, and maybe go back to this bottom one and then just darken it even a bit more. Yeah, I think that looks good. As you can see, when I darken this bottom part, the colors of the red changes. It's more muted and like a darker, richer red, which is what I wanted to do anyways. So now I don't have to like go down here and like change the reds too much. So yeah, I think that really helps. As you can see, that like salmon-ish red tone isn't my vibe, so I really like this richer red. So it also helps with the colors and whatnot when you add masks. So that's something important to look out for. But I think that is pretty much what I would do. I do kind of like paint this area and darken it, but very subtle. But yeah, maybe like cooler down. But that's pretty much it. Super easy and simple. I think we can move on.
I agree. And then there's another question from Caleb. Can you please explain the concept of resolution, please? Sometimes 300, 72. What do they mean?
300. The export.
I think when you're exporting, you have your resolution set to 300. I think they just want to know what that means.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So basically, when I started photography, and I asked my friend that was like fully like a nerd with like resolution, like he was like the nerd. So he just told me like this setting works, and I'm like I stuck with it for maybe as long as I can remember, like 6-7 years now since I started. So that's why it's 300. There's no really like a logical explanation. There probably is, but yeah, I just don't know why I do. I just do it because I was told to.
Yeah. I set mine to 300. I also think, I don't know if it's also good for like, well, obviously the quality of the image, but like, I don't know if that, I'm assuming it also will help with printing as well. But I do the same. Yeah. I was told to set it to like 300. I cannot explain why. I just know it works.
Yeah, for printing, I think depending on the size of the print, you get a print in like, usually it's safe to go 300-400 PPI. Yeah.
Yes.
Print. Yeah. So yeah, I can't give a logical explanation, but I don't think most people can. Like, I don't really think most people can.
I feel like there's just some things that we were told to do and then everyone just does, and then you ask, well, why do you do that? It's like, I mean, somebody told me to do it. That's how my, like, when I look at some of the things that I've learned, there's some things that I do. Oh, and somebody commented, and thank you, Steve. So Steve said, for print, shoot 300. It's denser pixels so there's no blur. And then for the net, 72 is fine. So if it is for print, 300 pixels per inch, it is for the web, use pixel width and height. So thank you, Steve and PJ, for giving us some explanations.
Maybe that's why my websites don't load fast.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. I think it's straightforward for this one too. So we can kind of move forward. I just wanted to kind of touch on this as well, but like to shoot different compositions. I posted like this and this as a set. It actually performed really well. Everyone loved it. So yeah, it's something to remember to shoot different compositions.
And another question,
yeah,
for cityscapes, why do you not shoot HDR?
HDR. I think, is there a setting called HDR on a full frame camera?
Honestly, I don't know.
Isn't it just bracketing instead of an HDR?
That's what I think, but Anthony, if you could explain. what your I don't know if there's a setting for HDR.
Yeah, I know there's bracketing which people use to create HDR image, but that's just a bit of an extra step that I don't want to take.
Yeah.
For something that I don't really care about. Okay, so I get this question a lot. It's related to HDR, but they say like why my photos are like why my highlights are blown out, kind of. But I do it on purpose. So
yeah. I also think some things are just like, I feel like I love to say that there's no like right way to really, I mean, like, you know, there's some things that are like correct in theory, but I feel like whatever it works for you artistically, like you said, the highlights, like someone can say, oh, why are your highlights blown out? And it's like a stylistic choice. That's just what you prefer and you like in your images, which I think is just as a justified reason. So I like the blown out look in your image, especially like some of these shots. This one, I feel like it adds to the story of the image. I feel like, I don't know, like my eyes, the way my eyes lead from the tracks up to like the sky, it feels like, where are we going to? Are we going to this mystical land?
Thank you.
So I like how blown out the highlights are. So I feel like with that, especially with that haze in this image, it's just like my eyes feel like I'm leading somewhere, which is really nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, each to their. I think
yes,
there's no right or wrong, I guess.
Yep.
So yeah.
Awesome. What do we have next?
Okay, so this is more of a landscape now, but more, it's kind of similar to cityscape with a human subject to kind of tell a story. I know it's crooked, but we can fix this. Let's just fix this for now. And then, yeah, it's as simple as that. I don't think you need to really focus on like aligning it to anywhere, but I guess these right here is the lines. Yeah. So that works. But yeah, so when I arrived, I just couldn't think of, it was hard I had to like really step back and think of this composition, which is this wooden path and then the landscape. So this tree on the back here, which you can't see, it's out of frame, casts a shadow, which then creates another like a element of layering, and then it pulls focus into the center. So I think that's with most of my photos, I try my best to kind of lead the viewers like into the direction I want them to. So yeah, that's how I got this, stepped off the wooden path to kind of use this as a leading line as well. So yeah, I think I really actually love this photo. I guess it depends on the person, but yeah, we can quickly start by adding.
And that's you in the image, correct?
This is me. Yeah, I had my friend take it for me. So
got it.
Yeah, usually it's like I kind of find composition, I ask them to take it, and then they find a composition and I take theirs, and it's just it's always like that, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
So this right now with the preset looks awful in my opinion. So bring the exposure up, and I think the blue is just awful as well, and it's just too much of a contrast. So we can actually either go down like this with the contrast slider and make it, that already fixes everything, or we can use the shadows, bring the shadows up, kind of preserve the blown up highlights, like details here, and bring up the blacks. So that is personal preference, but yeah, let's go back a bit and then just stick with sliding the contrast. All right, so already it's looking less saturated and contrasty, and I think for this there's no reason to dehaze, so we'll put that back to 0. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but as you can see, all my photos have -10 clarity, which kind of helps with my gear in terms of like shooting on a G Master lens. It's pretty tack sharp. So it just like evens it out. Sometimes you want the sharpness, but from a lot of the things you don't. And then I am using a black mist filter for 90% of the photos, no matter if it's landscapes, cityscapes, portraits, and this is the 1/4 strength. It's hard to tell, but there's 1/4, 1/8, and half strength, and 1/4 is a good strength to use for most things. And yeah, I also do get asked a lot on whether or not I'm using a filter. So yeah, it gives that glow, like a softer glow, I think.
Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
does.
So yeah, it really helps with the image being softer. So yeah. But then again, because of this -10 clarity, we're not going to get a sharper mountain, and the mountain should be sharp and rough. So usually it's really straightforward, but we can bring the clarity and texture, just paint over it and just kind of make it more rough, like how it should be. Even here, I think just a rough job, but I think that helps. Yeah, it's more crisp. And then I also do one for these fields. So this time I wasn't thinking that far, but usually I would tripod this and shoot a slower shutter speed even, and kind of have a slight blur emotion in the field.
Yeah.
I also do that for like when I shoot like ocean, like and I want to still water. So if you don't do that, you can go ahead and use the clarity, like a brush tool with the clarity a bit down, and then it gives that softer look. And it doesn't look that crunchy, so it's like easy on the eye. I'm not sure if it's easy to tell through the live, but let's see. Yeah,
I think I can see a little bit of it
yeah,
through the live, but
it's like you never want to go overboard. It's like when you cook, it's like the worst thing when you add too much salt in your cooking, and then you can't subtract that. You can always add, but it's always to play it safe. So that is how I would like bring the structure back and then soften the field. But then I think again the blue right here, very subjective, but I'm not a fan of. So we can use the technique as mentioned before, this slider with the luminance down kind of, I'm not sure how to explain it, but darkens the blue. But then because it darkens the blue, we want to compensate with this slider with the saturation and just kind of make it more easy on the eye. And I think that looks much better than this blue for sure. Yeah, I think I like that. And then again, this is the same technique as before, but it's very effective, and you can just darken these shadows. And that brings the mountains to kind of pop and have these significant contrast between the light and the dark.
How did you find this spot? Is it a lot of exploring? Is this like a well-known area, or?
This is like Yosemite Park, and it was. So I always go to like this travel photographer blogs and like Instagram stuff, and then I kind of like see their photo and vision like, okay, is this something I can, is there something I can bring new to that location? And if that answers yes, I'll go shoot it. And if that answers no, no matter like how, usually 90% of the time, no matter how good of the location it is, I probably wouldn't shoot it. So if in my like mindset, it's like if everyone's seen it, why should I go and capture the same photo? Just this, you know, it's like a stamp rally. So I just don't want to be
I feel that.
involved in
I feel that. I feel that. But like you said, if there's anything new or new perspective you can bring, then that's nice. And I also I can really appreciate like the compositions, that how important your compositions are, because it brings, again, that new perspective to the overall image and the location for sure.
Yeah, even if it's just a little bit different, you know, I think it's good to challenge yourself, I think.
Absolutely.
But if in doubt, you know, you can always shoot the same photo, have that as a backup, and then challenge yourself to do different ones after. But yeah, I think overall I'm happy with this photo. And to end it, I'll increase the exposure and glow of this. Yeah, in a nutshell, I think that's pretty much how I will go about editing, like a landscape lifestyle image. And
that's just so beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that detail in the mountains that you brought in. I also really love when the last finishing touch you did, where you made it lighter on the left side of the frame. It just feels like, I don't know, like that light that's like kind of oozing like or making its way. Yep, exactly. It's flowing into the image. So that's really beautiful too.
Thank you. I think it only works when it's like the light, in this case the sun, is out of the frame. So it looks weird when you're trying to do this when it's like direct sunlight or like kind of like a silhouette. But yeah, if you're more of a contrasty kind of person, you want more like pop, you can always like, this can like, you know, change a lot if you keep going with it. So it's always good to like, even, I don't know, play around, usually not that much, but like usually go back and forth and see what works best for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's how you kind of even get to discover your style. When I got into Lightroom, I just love to play with the sliders. I just slide left to right. Yeah, I like that. No, I don't like that. And you find your things that you gravitate, and then you kind of find your general workflow. So it's good to go back and forth, so you can at least see what each each setting is doing to your photo specifically, and really understand that.
Yeah, it's when you first started, did you go like, were you like, I don't know how to say it, like you kind of go back and forth, but you don't know like which is better, and then like
I would go back and forth, or like I'll make multiple edits and I'm like, I don't really know what's
the one.
Nope. Or sometimes what I love to do is, I think it's crazy and cool to see how like your style or your eye changes with time. So sometimes I'll go back and re-edit an older photo and see like, do I still navigate towards the same look, or is there something that like is catching my eye now? It's a lot of stress sometimes. It's just like, dang, that's too many options.
Oh yeah.
But it's really nice.
Yeah.
There's just so many options in how you can take an image, you know, like that's why I love, like sometimes I wonder, like if I took one, let's say we had a group of us and we all had one image to edit, like how many different edits would you get, the perspectives and everything, because what I see might not be what you see. So that's pretty dope there.
I think it'll be actually cool if you edited like these photos too, and then like
come on, and then we could put it side by side, and it's like, yo, like
how, like it'd just be like, how did you do that? Yeah, I think it's important to like not, I think if you do photography solo, you never progress.
Yeah.
Like, I think I learned so much from my friends and like
Mm,
having their input and like teaching me how to edit.
yes.
And yeah, I think yeah, surround yourself with people that you want to become, and then
Exactly. I
it's
1000% agree with it. Because it's good to learn from other people, and everybody has their own style, their perspectives. And so you never know what you might learn that you might be able to put in your own toolbox. That's why I really love like these lives, because like every time I'm watching, I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think about this or consider this detail in a photo. Now you can kind of see what you've learned and how you can apply it to your work. So it's definitely better to not be solo as a photographer and kind of make, have a little bit of a community.
mm, yeah, that's the way to do it,
That's
100%.
it. That's
That's the
it.
trick.
Mic drop. That's all.
Uh,
Awesome.
basic.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. I think so far we've been using a lot of brushes and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really like in different situations you just use it differently, and it's like a whole nother like I don't know technique, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. If you want to, there's like few things I want to like cover, but I don't know like what's best. But
What are you thinking?
I think this photo I shot for Equinox Hotels, and
Mm.
the thing is, if it wasn't for the brush tool, I probably would have not made it. So this, the vessel was like off. The light was off. I think because they shut it down due to some incidences that occurred
uh,
past, and so it was off. And yeah, what I did was like preset, like adjustments, of course, but then yeah, I think I'll just I'm not sure if I should just like edit this too, but these part here, which
mm-hmm.
the light is hitting, because of light it's hitting, it's not too bad. But what I did was just the same thing as always, and just painting over these areas with the
Mm-hmm.
brush, and then okay. If you bring the saturation up a bit and maybe like even play around with
Yeah, with the tint. Yeah.
tints, maybe not too much, but
Where is this location wise?
this is New York.
Oh, I know where this is. Okay,
Yeah, you have to know.
I was like that building, that structure that you're editing right now. I was like, that looks so familiar. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah. This is last year, but yeah, it's such a shame. It's like shut down.
Yeah.
But
I went on I took a trip to New York for the first time earlier this year in April, and I wanted to visit this location, but because it's being shut down, there wasn't much to see.
oh
Yeah. So I was
yeah,
like, why
it's
does this look so familiar? It was on my list of places to visit. So
oh wait, you didn't go or you
no,
went?
we didn't end up going.
Oh, because it was shut down.
Yeah, because it's shut down. But I think you can still go as like as a tourist, look outside, of course. But
Oh yeah,
we didn't end up going. But I was like, why does this look familiar? That's why.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's still nice, but
Yeah.
in terms of photography, it's unless you're like here with the pool,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really make sense, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like because of the brush tool, I could really make this pop.
Yeah.
These I'm not sure what it's made like.
I don't know what it is either, but
Yeah,
the
this
the kind of like the lights or whatever, making them pop a bit more. And
it's
that
like a material, like a copper looking material.
oh, okay, it's
Light and then
material,
it
so
glows.
it's not
Yeah.
like a okay.
Um, yeah, so if I go down to the U, I should have brought this into Lightroom, but this is the final image. So
Mm.
maybe I'll just do this because I don't think many of you guys want to see me edit that from scratch. I don't. It's just for if I yeah I wouldn't want to watch myself edit this.
You can see the before and after. And then what was the decision with because I can see you in there, you're blurred out. So what was with your settings as well? What was your kind of thought process there?
Oh, okay. So I get this too. Like people like, yo, you're blurry. Like, what happened? But like it's like the movement. I just
Is that
like,
yeah, the movement is really nice.
yeah, it's just I mean, to some people it's weird, but
Yeah.
like I actually did another selection. This one too. See how I'm blurry?
Hmm.
Like, but I like it. Like that's
Hmm.
how it's supposed to be.
There we go.
And like how this is blown out. People are like,
Yeah.
yo, it's blown out.
Like that's
But
what I like. And so what? What are you gonna do about it?
exactly.
I called it out because I liked the motion blur.
Oh,
That's
okay.
something,
Thank you.
yeah, that's
The
something that
first
I
time.
yeah.
I think this is the first time someone said,
Really?
I
Oh,
think
I like it. It's like I don't know. I like it. It's more interesting to look at than just like, oh, someone who's walking in full focus. I don't know. There's more,
mm.
it's more interesting. So I'm a fan.
Thank you. It's not for everyone. It's
Yeah.
not for everyone. But
Yeah.
um yeah, like one brush tool and it just like something like this can like turn into this.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think in overall the whole today's live too, it's just like really enhancing and using brush or like not just the brush, but the tools here, the gradient tools in
Yeah.
general. They're just
Yeah.
like a lifesaver. So
I think that's one thing that if I'm taking away something from like what we've done so far, it's definitely the gradients and obviously the brush tools because I tend to not use them as often. I do a lot of like I love color, so I spend a lot of my time either if I'm in Lightroom, I'll spend my time in like the HSL sliders or like the color wheels. Um,
mm,
that's just what I do. But then you have more general overall edits that you're doing, whereas the gradient or even the brush tool, you can really target specific areas. So that's really dope how you're able to bring some aspects of the image, more, add more depth or bring it more alive. So that's really nice.
yeah, I think yeah, it's just fun to use. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
painting
Yeah, it's
over
like
like
painting. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, basically it's not photography anymore. You're a painter.
yeah, if you have that tablet with a pen,
Yeah.
it'll be fun. Like you just it's not even editing anymore. Like
Yes. Yeah. So y'all let us know. Are you the painter type? Are y'all gonna be using these brushes, gradients? I like the idea of that. So let us know if you like to take the same kind of approach with your images in the chat. And again, if you have any questions, I see there's a lot of different conversations that are going on in the chat box, which is great. So if you have any questions, let us know. And we still have about 25-30 minutes left of our live, so we can still keep going on to anything else that you might have for us.
yeah, I think I wanted to so basically when you first start photography, and a lot of people ask me this, where it's like there's always tourists, there's always people around, there's always like so many like elements that you gotta kind of think about, and you can't always be shooting there for hours or like even use a tripod. It might be in the middle of the street. So there's one technique that I want to kind of highlight or like show you guys, and this can be not just like for the sake of like creating a beautiful photograph, but if you want to shoot something that's nice for yourself, this is like the way I would do it. And so I found this DeLorean parked in New York Times Square, and this guy right here is the owner, apparently. And then yeah, definitely pay him if you're gonna shoot, because no, everyone tries to like just shoot without paying him. It takes a lot of time and money to maintain such vehicles. So yeah, so basically here, I like this image and I wanted to post this. It's not my typical post, but I really loved it. So, but then there's so many aspects of this image where it's like this guy is still here, and I guess that's a bit annoying there. So usually I send the photos that I kind of want to mess with in the quick collection. So I'll choose multiple photos through these series that will like cover this and this part of the image.
Okay.
So it could be this one, because there's no one here. Whereas the other photo, there's a guy here. For the sake of this tutorial, I'll just use 2 of these images because it's a bit simpler to understand. We won't have to go into so many photos, but yeah, so this guy, try and like cover it with this. And here I think we have to use Photoshop, but what I like to do is go to Photos, Edit, and open up Photoshop straight from Lightroom. Okay, now that it's here we go, and yeah. Let me just check the 2-1. So we drag the file. I'm struggling.
Are you getting the file? Or trying to find
All right, there we go.
There we go.
And then all we have to do is align it, and then you just hold Shift and let go, and it'll drag like a highlight. And then we first go to I don't even know how you say this.
I can't even see. Rasterize layer.
Okay, so basically this is in the middle of the street, and I just wanted this photo something that I can potentially post and use, but because it was in the middle of the street, you can't tripod it. But I had a friend, so I told him take multiple photos when the background is moving. So he took like a dozen or 2 dozen photos, and you can always stack a few to get rid of each of the background, depending on how many people or whatever is around you or whatever you can get rid of. And since like this food truck, there's no way I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So it's there, but we can definitely get rid of some stuff here. So as you can see, if we check these 2 photos, it's completely off in terms of composition. It's not aligned. So we kind of highlight these 2, and then we go to, actually I haven't done this in a while. Oh yeah, layers. I'm forgetting everything. Oh no, edit, and then it's just I think it's auto align, and then there's multiple options, but I don't know too much about these options. It usually works if you just do auto, and it just kind of aligns these 2 photos together. So if you go back and forth, it's pretty much like perfect.
Okay.
And yeah, let's go ahead and put this up here. Okay, so basically this top layer has this guy in the frame, this bottom doesn't, and there's probably like a million ways to do this, but usually I just simply use the eraser tool, maybe go like down in the hardness so it's softer on the edges. And then we can just like simply like erase that guy. And I know that a lot of people would, well, depending on the situation, I guess you could use um like these tool here, like patch tool, like spot removal. Not sure why I can't click it, but okay. Healing brush, spot removal, and kind of like try and like get rid of people, but it's it's way faster this way because you're using multiple photos, but you're just using an eraser tool.
Yeah, it's a good.
So
I do like that. When you so when you asked your friend to shoot this image, you were keeping this in mind, that you would essentially just layer maybe one or two of these images together and just kind of piece together whatever it is you wanted to keep or take out.
yes. So you do have to keep in mind that not everyone, if you don't know about this, they don't know what you're trying to like accomplish, so they might not get it. So if they tilt it too much, it's gonna be harder to work. So you gotta kind of make sure to tell whoever's helping you to kind of relatively stay pretty like on point to like a tripod, like a human tripod.
Yeah.
But you don't want to kind of like
That's a lot of
like tilt
pressure.
up or down. Like, I mean, you just look at all corners and see that everything's like kind
aligned.
of
Yeah.
aligned and you don't move, and it should work. This time it was pretty off, but even if it was off, we like with like 3 steps we could easily fix it, which was like edit, auto align, and then align auto, boom, and
it's aligned now, which is perfect.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I think it's way better than using tripod. Even if you are using in like a touristy locations, you can actually use this method to quickly shoot it instead of putting tripod.
Exactly. Trying to set up a tripod, and then you don't know if someone's gonna hit it, especially in busy areas. I don't feel comfortable if I was out here, but you would need a friend, so you would need somebody to come and support you. That way you would need someone. Yeah.
If you're solo, you're stuck with a tripod, but
yeah, dang.
I've been there so many times. It's not bad, but it always helps. So yeah, you also have to kind of have in mind that when you use this, I guess, auto align technique, that these sides are gonna get a bit, you gotta crop the sides a bit. So maybe in doubt, shoot a bit wider or like back out a bit. And so when for instance, okay, if you say you're good with this photo, the cool thing is you can like save it just like that, and you just wait, I think, for
and then it's gonna pop back into, once you save it, it'll pop back into
it's like
for you.
It's like so easy, and you can edit here and then go back to Photoshop, save it again, it'll like update. So I think we can, even if you're lazy, we can either ignore this or crop it, but we can use the other like layers or other photos that he wasn't there, or even this truck, and then get rid of that as a whole. But I think that should do it in terms of getting rid of people. So I think that's a really neat technique to
that's
kind
really
of
nice.
keep in mind if in doubt. I think I have the final photo somewhere. So that is the one that's edited, but
how did you have a shot where, okay, there's nobody in this image, okay, so I was like, the other image that you had people in the background that were crossing the street, so you were able to, I do like that layering technique. Then that's a really good note.
There's people here I mean, technically you can,
I think the other, if you go back, because you had 2 pictures in Lightroom.
Was
there another one?
this,
Oh, I was looking at. I don't know what
I
I was
think
looking
this
at.
one,
Oh,
yeah.
that's the one I was thinking of. I don't think we touched that one. Never mind.
We use this for just this
Yeah.
frame. We just wanted this part, and then everything else is kind of too much, too many people.
Mm-hmm.
So just took that part here and then erased that area
Mm-hmm.
from this frame. So it's, yeah, I mean, that was 2 photos, but if you really if you really want everything perfect, you just shoot more when there's no one in that area, and then just have a base image and kind of subtract every frame.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. It'll take a bit of time, but otherwise you would end up like you wouldn't get the photo. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that is something I kind of like using when I'm on the run shooting. So yeah, we can, I guess, move on if there's any
Yes, let's
further
see. I
questions.
don't see any other questions unless I missed one. I don't think so. So if y'all have any questions, please let us know in the chat, whether you are in on YouTube or you're on Behance. I see some people are talking about cards, colors, samples. So there's other conversations going on as well, which is great.
Oh, okay.
But if y'all have any other questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. That way we can talk about it. Do you have any other photos that you want to go over today, or do you want to kind of give us a sneak peek of what we're doing tomorrow as well?
We can do is there time to do both, or
There is time to do both.
yeah. I also, okay, I think I want to, because this is the color grading, I mean, we can edit this too, but in terms of, say for instance, okay. So let's say for presets, usually I believe in that when you purchase a preset, it's more of the fact that you're purchasing an idea. So
yeah,
you follow someone and you like their image. You're not buying it because if you buy the preset, you can apply it and you get the same result. You're buying it because of the idea of your photos being like theirs. Does that make sense?
yeah. No,
it's hard to explain. Yeah, it's like a pro athlete. If you're like a fan of a pro athlete and they have a signature shoe, you don't buy it because you can be like that athlete.
yeah, you buy
idea,
it so you
right?
can find. Yeah, you like the idea of it. Okay, so yeah, I do agree because I love presets because they're really because of that same reason. I think presets are really great for if you don't know where to start and you have someone like, maybe there's a style that you really like from another photographer, and you can take their preset as a starting point and kind of see how that works for you and how you can get creative in your own way within that point. So you're not necessarily like trying to be just like the person that made the preset, but it's like a good, like, okay, now I feel inspired to see what I can do, a little push, a little inspired to see how I can take my own image and make this my own.
Yeah, I think that's really important to know. I think especially when you first start out, because I've actually spent like $300-400 on a preset when I first started. I was like, this is a good investment, it's gonna help me, and then it's not quite as what I expected. So
yeah, and you definitely learn, because I did the same thing when I started. The money that I spent on presets, I couldn't even tell you, but because you don't realize that like a preset isn't going to guarantee you a certain result either. So you still have to understand or learn like how to edit and different components or different settings and how that impacts how the different settings will impact your image and change the look of it at all. So there's still a learning curve there, but I think the idea behind presets that was around when I started was, oh, if I just purchase this person's preset, I'll be good to go. And it's no.
I think everyone goes through that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But there's one really fun technique that I think I still sometimes do, which is if you have this photo, okay, say this is a photo you shot, you kind of you're really struggling and you haven't found your style yet.
Mhm.
You can of course use like people's preset, but I actually love using this, but then instead of using your photos or something, you download other people's photo, people that you like love, like their
Mhm.
style, like the style that you love, and then you drag that photo, say that that photo is this, and then you see it next to your own photo,
Mm.
and then you can kind of tweak, say I want this blue, but I don't know how to get it. Maybe if I like, you know, play around with this, I can get it closer to that blue,
Mm.
and so on with every color. So then you can kind of like match their tone of like the hue of their colors as well as like
Yeah.
have a bit of a bluer vibe. You know, you can use the split toning tool to create that as well as if it's warm, you can do that as
Mhm.
well. And I actually really use this a lot to learn. So I think that is
Mm.
something really important or like helpful.
I don't even do, like, I don't think I've ever thought of that as an opportunity to
Really?
learn. No. And I think that's because sometimes like, I might have an image in mind or a certain artist that I like, but it's really good to, I'm also a very visual person. So it's good to put their work next to your work and kind of play around and see, okay, what is it that you like and how you can take certain, like you said, maybe it's the blues that you like or it's a specific tone that you like, and adding that to your own image and placing it side by side as a reference image is really good as well.
I think, yeah, I think it really helps. And it's also fun figuring
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out because
did
it's
you
something
have
that, yeah.
did you have a favorite photographer that kind of helped you find your own style?
Um, I when I first started, I think Sam Calder was like blowing up on social
Mm-hmm.
media, and then I know he's known for like videos, but
Mm-hmm.
his photo had this blue that I really loved,
Mm.
and so I I didn't necessarily like his contrast, but like his blues were like something I wanted in my photo. So I downloaded a lot of his photos, like, and then did this and kind of like
Mm.
try and figure out how his blues work. And then Ivan One was another photographer that I really loved because it's like, it looks so I know for a fact that it's like well edited and heavily edited. Like there's a lot of gradients, there's a lot of color change, tweaking, but it looks so natural. Like it's like a
Mm-hmm.
clean look. Like
Mm.
paying super deep, like paying attention to super like small aspects, like the color of everything in the frame and like muting it if it's too distracting and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
I think those two like people like I liked. So I kind of like brought two of this like my favorite aspect of their editing,
Mm-hmm.
try and figure it out, and then kind of like build on it and try and make something of my own.
Mm. I feel
Mm.
that. I feel that. I like that because I was just curious because I know even just throughout the images that we've been editing, you definitely navigate towards blue tones, and
Yeah,
that's
I
like
just
your
love blue
signature.
as a color too. So, and my
It's,
t-shirt,
and your t-shirt's
this
blue.
is
So I just really like to see how, like, I think that's cool. Like sometimes you don't have to copy somebody else, but I think it's important to like it's good to get inspired by other creatives and see, okay, what is it that I like, you just explained, you knew what you liked and you knew what you didn't like. So you try to see, okay, how can I take what I like and add it to my work, which you've done very, very well. So it's nice to know
thank
where
you.
the whole the blue concept came from. So
Uh, yeah, it's something that a lot of people love about my work, which
yeah.
I'm like happy about because I love it. So it's like
Hmm.
good that a lot of people do as well. So yeah.
Oh, love, love, love. Let's see if y'all have any questions we have about, let's say, about 10 or less minutes left in our live. So if y'all have any questions, we will be back tomorrow, of course, but please drop them in the chat if you want to ask Kohki any questions or anything of that sort. Is there anything else? What else do we have? So let's kind of give a recap of everything that we've done so far, because I know we've edited quite a bit of photos and we did a recap about an hour ago. So let's do that. That way the time flies.
Forgot about the recap. Wait, should I recap from the first or
no, not from the first, maybe from what we did from
yes,
from the set.
It was pretty straightforward. I think lighting and condition of what you're shooting, in this case the haze, the amount of haze, it came and went when I was shooting. So I was here for an hour and a half and this was the best timing, so I shot it. But yeah, keeping in mind that lighting changed significantly, even if it's like a few minutes, but using that to an advantage created this kind of a layering effect where it's like crisp here, but then it fades out into the distance. We also, and this was pretty much the final result, but we also added a radial filter here to glow from the top, and then dragged another filter, where is it? I think this one, yeah, right here, and then at the bottom, so it's less distracting. It leads more, even though despite the lines here really lead your eyes into the frame, but this additional mask takes that even further. But then because of the mask, we kind of created this red. So before, the red was kind of a lighter red. I like this darker red, so it all works pretty well together. Yeah, and that is pretty much what we did. And we also edited this photo of a lifestyle landscape photo. And as you can see, if you look at it solo, it's not like, it's hard to distinguish that this is like heavily like edited in a way. But yeah, we kind of did the same thing. We had the radial filter here with the glow, and then really focused on bringing these mountains pop. So we used a brush tool, which was this one, and then kind of darkened the darker areas like that, and then also brought the mountains, gave it a bit more clarity like this, which gives contrast, but really kind of makes that the focal point and like crisp, which mountains should be. And then this is hard to tell, but the foreground, the field is a bit softer because we decreased the clarity there. And that's what we did for this. And I explained how, okay, we lost that photo, but I explained that how one single brush tool can really create something, like you can pop like specific areas. So from this, we went to this by just brushing this area and changing the saturation, the temperature, tint, and etc. It's super easy. I think the painting part might take a bit of time, but that's about it.
Do you use are you using a mouse or do you use a tablet?
I use a mouse. So I was thinking about a tablet, but I'm very picky about my desk aesthetic. That it's gonna ruin it, so I can't get myself to.
I feel that.
You don't use a tablet?
I use a mouse. I've tried using a tablet before. I think it's definitely like a matter of comfort, and it's a learning curve for sure. Every time I've tried with my tablet, I feel like I bought the thing and I've used it like 5 times, and every time I end up just throwing it to the side and grabbing my mouse.
It's hard to get used.
It is. I really want to, but because everyone that, you know, and it also looks kind of cool. Like
it does. It looks professional.
It does. But no, me and my handy dandy Apple mouse will be working together. So
Yeah, I know it's hard to get away from a mouse. It's like
mhm.
it's just so convenient in so many ways.
It really is.
Um, yeah, I think last we just talked about how you can kind of get rid of people without using a tripod or those the Photoshop tools down here, which is all these patch tool, healing brush, spot removal. Those are nice, but it is very time consuming, and without, if you don't shoot it the right way, it's hard. It's just a nightmare. So yeah, we literally used this right here, auto align, and then it just aligns the photos for you, and then you just erase the parts that you are not like you don't like. So for instance, like this photo, yeah, we got rid of, was it this one? Yeah, we got rid of this right here, which was like apparent in this photo. So yeah, that's pretty much the recap of everything we've done so far.
Beautiful. And what can we look forward to tomorrow?
For these live events, I was told that I should work on a new project that I'm excited about, right? And for me, there's this weird thing where if I shoot something, I have to start editing or at least selecting it that day, and I can't sleep until I start something. So in order to have something new, I would have had to shoot something yesterday for this live event, and that's not very like ideal. It's hard. So this is the closest. Is it okay should I just show them?
We can do a quick preview of what we're going to do tomorrow for sure. We have another minute or so to cover that before we start to close.
Okay, so basically tomorrow we are going to be covering portraits. Yay. That is one thing that a lot of people are curious about in terms of how I edit it. Especially, I think we're going to focus on color grading, but we're going to jump into Photoshop and yeah, run some things through there and just show you guys how I would go about editing a portrait. And I'm super excited because this portrait is the newest portrait photo series, I guess you can call it, that I've done recently, which I actually uploaded one like triple set photo on Instagram like last night, which is on my Instagram. It's the newest post, and it's going to be from those series. So as you can see, it's down here, but yeah, I think it's like it was a nightmare to do because of the location, trying to figure out all these like time, and yeah, the story itself is like pretty interesting too. So I'm super excited to share my process, and I haven't uploaded on Instagram, and I won't have it up before the actual live tomorrow. So yeah, it'll be like something new for everyone to see for the first time.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm a portrait type of gal too. This was really good today because I don't shoot landscape or cityscape. So this was really beautiful to see like your approach and how you go about it. But I'm really excited about the portraits tomorrow.
No, you're gonna laugh at my like weird like things that I do that's like not even correct. It just
no. I'm team whatever, do whatever works for you. So I'm really excited. So Kohki, thank you so much for taking us through your workflow today. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Sam, thank you for dropping his website and Instagram in the chat. So make sure y'all go ahead and hit up his website. We did talk about some presets. So if you're interested in his presets, you can head over there. Go ahead and head to his Instagram and give him a follow. And make sure that you join us back tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow around 9:30 a.m. Pacific for part 2. So you want to make sure that you join us as we edit portraits using Lightroom and Photoshop. And make sure that you stick around for this week's Illustrator Creative Challenges with Claudia from Print My Soul. The other thing is following the creative challenge. You want to make sure that you follow Isabel Pari, as she's going to do a graphic design live stream. So follow along as she shows us how she designs your brand and merch using the Adobe Creative Cloud. So stick around for that for sure. Really excited to see y'all tomorrow. And Kohki, thank you so much again. We'll be
Thank
back
you
for
so
another
much for
live tomorrow.
having me.
Get
It's
some
super fun.
sleep.
I'm going right to bed after this.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day. Bye.